Good evening, Ice Wolves fans, and welcome to another edition of Ice Wolves Insider. Well, on tonight's program, we'll be joined by head coach Bob Beattie, as well as Ice Wolves players Brennan, Ritchie, and Rhyse Dieno. And then later on, in From the Stands, we'll be talking with Ice Wolves fans Curtis Galicki, Scott Boys, and Dustin Forbes. Should be a great show. We'll see you right back. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this time, we're going to be talking with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie. Bob, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. So it's good to have you back on the program this season. Let's talk about the recent road trip. You guys were down south for three games in 3 nights. Unfortunately, not the outcome that you guys wanted, but let's go over each of those games. We'll start with the game in Wilcox.
Do we have to talk about that?
I'm sorry. I know you guys don't like dwelling in the past, but that is the most recent series of games.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we were really disappointed in our effort Thursday night in Notre Dame. Certainly, I thought it was probably our worst game of the season. But the first 2 periods, for whatever reason, we could find a number of excuses, but we didn't have the jump coming off the bus, and we certainly didn't. We had a slow start. We were down 2-0, before 2 minutes were gone in the game, and it wasn't the effort that we needed to start the road trip.
I know you don't like to look for excuses or anything like that, but you got a lot of new players on the team, a lot of players from outside the province. Do you think that the larger ice surface maybe was a little offsetting for a lot of the guys on the team?
Well, again, we can use any number of excuses we wanted to. We seemed to be a little bit disoriented with the big ice surface, for whatever reason. But when there's one-on-one battles in close proximity, we need to win more of those than we lose, and we weren't able to do that Thursday night.
Yeah. Then the following night, you're in Melville, taking on one of the top clubs statistically so far this year in the Millionaires. And, it was a loss, but obviously a much closer game for you guys.
Yeah, I thought we rebounded. I thought the guys, played a pretty decent game. We rebounded well from, the lack of intensity Thursday night. And, unfortunately, we couldn't get a goal. We didn't have a dozen good quality scoring chances, but we had enough certainly to get 1 or 2 goals, and we weren't able to execute. And their goaltender Wakaluk played well. Unfortunately, we came out on the losing end.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the same story the following night in Yorkton. Another 1-goal loss, a little bit different script this time. You guys mounted a late comeback. Talk about that game there.
Well, the third game in 3 nights, we gave it away in the first period with just some mistakes and maybe a lack of intensity in the first period. I was really proud of the way that the guys recovered and battled back. A little too late, I guess, is the cliche. But we have to find a way to be competitive over 60 minutes and bring a little more consistency throughout the game, and especially in our first periods.
And again, not to dwell so much on losses, but it's got to be a little discouraging, or maybe a lot discouraging. The 1-goal losses you've had this year, you've had like 7 or 8 of them if you count some of the empty net games. That's got to be pretty frustrating, knowing that you're so close, and sometimes you don't even get a single point out of them.
No, it certainly sucks to be second, and again, as you said, those 1-goal losses, they add up. Any number of those games, if we are capable of winning, and we've come in a little bit short. A number of times we get another half a dozen points, easily out of those 8 1-goal losses, and we're right in the thick of things. But I'm certainly not pushing the panic button yet, but you know, I was excited about our team. I'm still excited about our team, but I think that you know, we have to play with a lot more consistency, game in, game out, and shift in and shift out.
I was going to kind of ask you something like that. Like, what is your general assessment of the club you've assembled this year? Obviously, a lot of new faces, a lot of good young players as well. Maybe give us your thoughts on how you see your team performing as a whole, like about 12 or 13 games in here.
Well, obviously, we're not satisfied with our record and what we've accomplished so far. We're going to try to continue to improve with the guys that we have, and we're going to have competition for positions when you're sitting with 3 wins after 13 games. Certainly, it's you know, it's normal to have some changeover, and you know, whether it's a wholesale change or just you know, tweaking here and there, we'll see as we go. We're going to try and improve our team again with the players we have, and try and add players that are going to be able to compete.
Yeah, well, that answer is just begging for the next question. Let's talk about the new acquisitions this week. I understand you have a new forward and a new goalie in camp.
Yeah, the forward came from Fort McMurray. He's an 18-year-old forward, Jesse Touchette. You know, he's got a pretty good skill set, and you know, he's coming in on trial basis to try and make our hockey club, and we're going to give him the opportunity to do that. Dason Sedora is a 18-year-old goaltender from Red Deer that we acquired. He's got a very good resume. Was the goaltender of the year in Alberta AAA Midget League last year, and the goaltender in the TELUS Cup final with Red Deer Rebels. You know, and he's got a national championship under his belt. So, you know, he played just about every playoff game for his team last year, and you know, has a good track record.
Now, Sedora's resume aside, you know, it's not very usual for a team to have 3 goalies in camp at the same time. Should we read anything into that you brought in an extra goaltender at this stage? I
wouldn't read too much into it. I just, you know, we're going to bring in players to compete for positions, and you know, if we get on track and win 10 out of 13, then I think that we'll be established. But until we have you know, succeeded a little bit more, I think there is going to be some turnover and some competition for spots at every position. Yeah.
One of the positives that came out of the weekend, it seemed, was the emergence of Kyle Hines, another goaltender on the team. He got some more action and seemed to perform well. What was your assessment of his play?
Well, Kyle played well. He came in and played the last 2 periods in Yorkton and gave us a chance to win. He kept the puck out for the most part. I think he only had 1 goal scored on him in Yorkton in 2 periods, and you know, another goal scored on him in Notre Dame in a period and a half. So he was able to keep the puck out and you know, give him some minutes to evaluate his play as well.
Okay. Just finally, let's dwell on some of the positives about the team you've seen so far. What are some of the things that you've seen so far that you think, you know, that's something we can definitely build on, or maybe, you know, some of the things that you've seen from some of the new recruits? What are some of the positives you've seen?
Well, I think that at times, you know, every player that's here has had spurts where we think, okay, you know, like, you know, they're getting it, and you know, we're going to go forward and build on some positive things. But you know, consistency is the big issue, and we've got to have a little more intensity and consistency day after day. You know, I think you know, the teams that have been successful here in Laurent have built, you know, on hard work and consistency and a second effort, and you know, at times we haven't seen enough of it.
Actually, there was one other question. It seemed that early on, and I think you were actually stating this, that you were going to give it's almost like an extended training camp. You're going to give a lot of players on the team a shot at the power play, a shot at the penalty kill. I haven't been keeping track recently. Is that still going on? And maybe just tell us how that's gone.
It's going on to a degree. I think when you have a new team, it's tough to pigeonhole players into roles from day one. You might miss the boat on something that somebody has to contribute. But we are getting closer, to our special teams. But again, we need to find, a second power play unit and some more penalty killers when we play games 3 and 3 nights. You can't be going to the same well and expect them to, perform. If fatigue happens to factor in, you're hurting your team. So we need to have, some guys that can fill in those roles, and if they're able to step up to the plate and show that they can contribute, whether it's power play, 4-on-4, checking line, or whatever happens to be the situation, they're going to find their way on the ice a little more.
All right. Well, Bob, thanks for doing this, and good luck this weekend against Humboldt Notre Dame.
Thanks a lot, Kelly.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider. We've been chatting with Ice Wolves head coach Bob Beattie. We'll be back with Ice Wolves players Rhyse, Dieno, and Brennan Ritchie. Back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this time, we're joined by Ice Wolves players Rhyse, Dieno, and Brennan Ritchie. Guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about the team's performance so far. Obviously, probably not exactly what you guys were hoping for this early in the season, but let's maybe just talk about your thoughts on the team, what you see in the team and your teammates, not just some of the negatives, but also some of the positives as well. I'll start with you there, Rhyse.
Well, I think we're losing a lot of games by 1 goal, which is tough, but guys are right there. I mean, we just need some guys to step up, as younger guys, and maybe Bob's got a new guy coming in. Hopefully he can add to the offensive part of the game, but I think the guys are pretty close in the dressing room, so it's that's not the reason why we're not really connecting or bonding, but yeah, I think if we if we get more pucks on net, we give up a lot of shots. Like we're letting Miles 60, like the other day it was like 65 shots or something. I mean, if we start getting as many shots as guys are getting on us, I think the puck will start to go in. This 1 goal games will be wins for us.
Yeah. Okay. Brennan, your take on the season so far?
Yeah, like you said, there's been a lot of close games. I think guys are getting along good. Everybody's working hard, just not getting the bounces. But it's just the start of the year, so we still got lots of time.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I guess, all the new faces. Like there's been, I don't know, this is probably the largest turnover from season to season that we've seen in recent history for the team. So obviously you guys are experiencing that, and line combinations and defense pairings are probably changing maybe from night to night. Who knows, as the team's trying to find its way. So let's talk about that. Has that been a big thing, having a lot of people come in this year that weren't on the team last year? And Rhyse, of course, you weren't with the team last year, but you were here 2 years ago. Let's talk about that whole phenomenon, if you will.
Well, it was a big change. I mean, the only guys that when I played here when I was 17, our team was pretty good, and a lot of those guys moved on, and the only guys that are here now are Miles, Nathan, and Graham. And when I was 17, we were the so-called fourth line, Graham, Boyer, and I, and now we're the first line. So it shows you how many guys moved on and how many new faces are now in the dressing room.
Yeah. Do you think that's been a part of what the issue has been? Is that people are still the guys are still kind of adjusting each other on the ice, knowing maybe the chemistry isn't quite there yet?
Could be, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's lots of rookies, but you got to start somewhere. So I don't know. I think they're doing a good job, and if we keep it up, we should be fine.
Okay. Now you're, I believe, the only 20-year-old defenseman on the team. So maybe talk about what that's been like. I'm sure the other guys on the team on the blue, look to you for leadership. Has that been something you've been able to handle fairly smoothly, or is it something that you
I
feel
think so,
pressure?
yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty neat. I mean, being the oldest guy, everybody looks up to you, but I'm not the most vocal guy, but I think I work pretty hard, so hopefully they follow.
Yeah. Rhyse, let's talk about last year. Of course, you were in the Western Hockey League. Medicine has that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about that adjustment, because of course up there you weren't maybe getting all the minutes that you are now this year. And
No.
let's talk about first off that experience, and then secondly making the adjustment back to the SJHL.
It was really fun. I mean, I met a lot of great guys, got a lot of best friends from that team. I definitely wasn't getting at the start of the year the minutes that I went into training camp. I didn't know if I was going to make the team, and I led the league in scoring in the training camp, in exhibition season. So I mean, that's probably what got the spot on the team for me. But then I didn't get the minutes that I thought I was going to get. Played on the third line, fourth line, and then near the end of the season, a couple of guys went down with injuries. So I played with on the first line with Edom and Burrito, and started getting a whole bunch of points. And then in Calgary, blew up my shoulder, so it's a bad bounce. But it was a really great experience. It was really fun to be a part of that team.
Yeah. Then you come back to the SJHL, and you're talking about how 2 years ago, you guys were on the fourth line.
Yeah.
This year, you're on the first line. And based on the early returns, I think last I saw you were tied for second in league scoring. Were you thinking you might have that offensive explosion, or has that been surprising even for you in terms of how many points you put up this year?
I got some goals set for myself this year, so I'm not sure if it'd be surprising, but it's nice to see that Boyer and I are connecting like we are for that many points. First practice back, him and I looked like we hadn't been apart, and looked like we've been playing together for 10 years. But no, it's a lot of fun. Bob's put a lot of trust in me, and hopefully I can keep the points going for the team.
Yeah. Now, still with kind of the individual accolades, I understand you're one of 7 SJHLers that have been invited to the Team West World Junior A Challenge camp there, coming up in, I think it's Calgary at the end of the month. Talk about what that's been like, that whole experience, because of course you went to another camp to even get to that stage, and maybe give us your thoughts on that whole thing.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. I mean, that camp was some pretty good players there, and to be named out of, I don't know how many players were there, I forget, but a couple teams put together, and then to be one of 7, it's really, I don't know how to put it, I'm really thankful. I mean, I think Bob really pushed for me to go to the next camp, so I want to thank him. I'm excited to get there. I think I leave on Sunday, and then we're there for 3 days and see how the camp goes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about the weekend that's coming up here. You guys have a couple of home games against Humboldt and Notre Dame. Brennan, of course, you were part of last year's team. For whatever reason, you just couldn't get over that hump in terms of beating Humboldt. There was a lot of games where you were really close, and somehow they pulled out the victory. I imagine the guys are really looking forward, especially the returning players, looking forward to this Saturday's game, hey?
Yeah, it's going to be good. I mean, they're one of the top teams, so it's going to be a tough game, but we're definitely going to have our work cut out for us.
What is it that you think, what have the coaches been saying in terms of what you guys have to do in order to have the most chance of success this weekend, especially against Humboldt?
Pucks deep, no turnovers at the blue lines, work your tail off. I don't know. Say that's most of it,
Yeah, okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for being on the program. I appreciate that, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right. If you're just joining us, this is Ice Wolves Insider, and we've been joined by Ice Wolves players Rhyse, Dieno, and Brennan Ritchie. We'll be right back with From the Stands. Welcome back to Ice Wolves Insider. At this juncture, we're going to be talking with some Ice Wolves fans in From the Stands, a regular feature we have here on Ice Wolves Insider. And this week's guests are Curtis Skalicki, Scott Boys, and Dustin Forbes. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
All right. Well, let's talk about your impressions of the team so far. Obviously, the team is like 5 or 6 games below 500. What is your take on their performance so far, and what do you make of, I guess, what we've seen so far? I'll start with you there, Dustin.
Well, I think the first periods have killed them. They give up a lot of first goals, and from there they kind of dig themselves a hole. But there is potential, I should say. There's guys who have been playing good. Obviously, Rhyse, Dieno is second in league scoring. Nathan Boyer right behind him, and Miles Hovdebo in goal has been outstanding through the first quarter pole of the season. So there are certain things that you can look at in a positive, but on a whole, obviously, the coaching staff, and if you were to ask the players too, they're probably not satisfied with where they're at. 3 wins in 13 games isn't that great. Currently, they sit out of a playoff spot, so there's got to be something that's going to have to happen for them to get back into it.
Yeah, Scott, what are your impressions of the team so far?
Well, it's early, but I think the team just has to mature a little bit. I mean, they've been in a lot of games and just failed to clinch it. And, it's up to the coaching staff as to whether you mature by going out and acquiring maturity, or whether you give it time to come about all on its own. I think the players feel that they woulda, coulda, shoulda had a few more games. And it'd be nice if everybody could give them another quarter of the season just to find out if that'll work. But of course, the pressure's always on to do better sooner.
Yeah, Curtis, your thoughts?
Well, a lot of one-goal games, and they've found ways to lose those games too. And they're on the road trip, they're down early, and they've tried to make the comebacks, and they've fallen a little too short. So, a little bit of finding ways to win, and like you say, maturity. And the goaltending Hovdo, I mean, he's been lights out when we've seen him, but when you're giving up significant amounts of shots a game, and you can't expect your goalie to bail you out every night.
I was going to actually bring that up as well. What do you make of, I guess, what we've seen in terms of the shots? They've been a little bit better on the road, but it seems that a lot of games they have been outshot, and sometimes at home, by a fair margin. What do you make of what we've seen so far with that? We'll start with you there, Curtis.
Well, I think, we were talking about it off camera here, and a lot of the shots are from the cheap seats, and they're that 25, 30 feet out. But it's those second and third shots that, Miles is trying to contend with, and he's flopping around like Dominic Hasek, and so it's very, very difficult to do that. So I mean, your defensemen have got to take some bodies out and clear those rebounds.
Yeah, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. The Kindersley game in particular sticks out. First 2 periods, all periods, we got outshot every single period. Not by too much in the first 2. But we were winning that game quite handily because Kindersley was forced to take their shots from outside the face-off circles. Fine, let them shoot from out there all night long. Third period, we got outshot badly, and the shots started to come from 10 feet out, 5 feet out, and that's when they started to bury them. And the last one, the one that killed it with 0.4 seconds left, it was wasn't even a good wraparound. It was a clumsy wraparound, and it just jammed in. And that's a guy standing right by the post that didn't get blocked out.
Dustin, you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, shots on goal are going to kill you when you're giving up 40-plus shots. I think so far this year they've given up less than 20 or 30 shots twice in 13 games. And I think when you look at it, and if you were to chart it out, like these guys have said, a lot of them are perimeter shots. But I think when you use the excuse of perimeter shots, I think it skews it a bit, because if they are perimeter shots, but they're in the zone. So the opposition is controlling the play. They're inside the attacking zone. And when you're giving up 45, 50, 55 shots in a game, that's a lot of time that you're spending in your own zone, which, as simple math can tell, that's a lot of time that you're not in the attacking zone, and when you do that, you're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, like Rhyse said, if we were getting 60 shots a game, maybe we'd be winning a few more.
Yeah, exactly.
That's very profound. Yeah.
Yeah, if we can only bury more pucks, I think we'll have a better record.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess let's go to team needs now. What do you think are maybe some missing elements that we haven't seen on the Ice Wolves this season? I'll start with you there, Curtis.
Last year, coming into this year, we looked at the defense to be one of the strong points of the team with Sawyer and Hope and Ritchie and Franklin Cook. You need that big guy, that big scary defenseman that nobody wants to come into the zone and play. Whether it's the Colton McPherson pickup, whether it's a Dustin Stevenson, that type of thing. But you need someone that they're scared of in that zone, and they're not going to go to the net because they know that they're going to lose some teeth.
Okay, you guys, I'll start with you there, Dustin. Team needs?
Well, I mean, obviously secondary scoring. Rhyse said it, they need to score more goals. And it's common sense, you need to score goals to win games. And when you only have 2 guys and, maybe 3 guys doing it, it's just not enough. There's no backup support after Rhyse, Dieno, and Nathan Boyer. You could put in Graham Smerrick and Braden Alexin, but can you count on a 16-year-old rookie to provide you 25 goals in a season to get you over the hump? And some guys you can't, but that's a lot of expectation on a young guy. And so I think secondary scoring is definitely what they need. There's no cohesiveness. There's no consistency on the second line. There's no one there. It's a revolving door at center. It's a revolving door on the wings, and I think they need to get somebody that can staple on that second line and be able. You don't need to go out and get a 40-goal guy, an 80-point guy, but a guy who can chip in 15, 20 goals, 35 points. I think that's what they need.
Scott, what do you see as team needs?
I agree. I mean, a few more people have to start putting some pucks in the net. Boyer and Dieno are doing it so far, and that's great. And to be honest, when I compare the stats to what I've watched, the stats are beyond what I think I've seen. I see the Wolves playing well, but I was kind of surprised when I checked the numbers. Same with the power play. I thought, our power play is kind of weak. Check the numbers. Well, not so much. It's not bad. So I think, get a little more control of the puck, moving it down to their end. Our D won't get so tired, and we should see the difference in a few more one-goal games then.
Yeah, Justin.
That's one thing too. You make a good point, and Curtis said it. A big rugged defenseman would be nice. Somebody that is going to take those guys to the boards and make them pay to get into the attacking zone. But I think a guy who can move the puck too. As a forward, it's so tough to corral a pass that's behind you or too far in front of you or in your skates when you're in full flight. But a guy who can either carry the puck and chip it in and give chase and get the puck and retrieve it, or a guy that can hit a guy on the fly, so that it's tape to tape and it's not behind them too far in front of them. A puck mover would be good as well, I think. Really
interesting move by the Wolves this week, especially given the weekend that we saw in net for the team, the acquisition of a third goaltender. We were talking with Bob earlier about how Kyle Hines, who's been the backup so far this year, really seemed to emerge this past weekend in limited duty. Of course, Miles, some people see him as, basically the team MVP so far in some of the wins that they've got, and yet there's a third goalie brought in. Bob said earlier that, don't read too much into that, but what do you guys make of this trade? I'll start with you there, Curtis.
You know what? I'm not going to argue with a 4-time SJHL Coach of the Year.
No, I want you to.
but he's not only looking at this year, he's looking at next year. And, can Kyle be the guy to go to next year to lead this team? Because Miles is a 20-year-old, or is this new guy coming in? Is he going to be that guy? Who knows? Sometimes you just got to shake things up. Maybe he's got something planned big to move somebody else. Who knows?
Scott, your take on that?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm not convinced that Bob is ready to actually make a move and change his goalies right now. But given the record, it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to put some pressure on. Send a message and say, okay, let's pull our socks up. We're going to start back here. I don't think anybody for a second thinks that Bob is done moving people around. He never is, and he always seems to make things better, and it's probably his greatest strength as a coach is his ability to acquire.
Yeah. And Dustin, you get the final word on this.
Yeah, well, I think it's anytime you have 3 wins through 13 games, you're looking to improve wherever you can. And when you bring in an extra forward and you bring in an extra goalie, it creates inner competition. And it gives a guy like Kyle Hines to try and prove himself that much more. In a backup role where you're not playing very much, it might be tough for him to, take that next step. And I'm gonna be the guy because you have a guy like Miles Hoff-DeBoer in front of you who's played in every game this year so far. And so I think, and Bob said it too, the goaltender Dason Sedora has a good resume. And so you bring in a winner. You bring in a guy who knows how to win. You bring in a guy who's been there and done it at the level that he's been. So, when you bring in a championship goaltender, whether it be at AAA, Junior B, Junior A, it's that mentality of we're going to win. And right now they need that because they haven't been doing a lot of it.
All right. Well, good stuff. Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, if you're just joining us, this has been another edition of Ice Wolves Insider, and From the Stands, we'll be right back to wrap things up. Well, that's all the time we have for this evening's edition of Ice Wolves Insider. Thanks very much for joining us. Of course, the Ice Wolves have a couple of home games coming right up. We'll see you at the Mill.